Hello guys, I'm Cassandra Faye Manzano from One IEC. I'm going to present my discussion about the operating system. I'm going to share my screen first for you guys to follow well my discussion. So I'm going to start. Operating system. My presentation highlights the evolution of operating system. This is the short definition for operating system. Operating system is a system software that manages computer hardware, software resources, and provides common services for computer programs. To be clear, it is the software that supports a computer basic functions such as scheduling tasks, executing applications, and controlling peripherals. Evolution of operating system. The evolution of operating system is directly dependent on the development of computer systems and how users use them. So this is the history of operating system in order. We have the first generation, second generation, third generation, and fourth generation. So first generation in the history of operating system, when electronic computers were first introduced in the 1940s, they were created without any operating systems. All programming was done in absolute machine language, often by wiring up log boards to control the machine's basic functions. During this generation, computers were generally used to solve simple math calculations. Operating systems were not necessarily needed. So we have ENIAC in 1946, or the Electronic Numerical Integrator in Computer, was the first general-purpose electronic computer, hailed by the New York Times as an amazing machine which applies electronic speeds for the first time to mathematical tasks hitherto too difficult and cumbersome for solution. The ENIAC was a revolutionary piece of machinery in its day. It was constructed and operated at the Moore School of Electrical Engineering, now part of the School of Engineering and Applied Science. Next, we have EDSAC and EDVAC in the year 1949. Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator, or the EDSAC, was an early British computer inspired by John von Neumann's seminal first draft of a report on the EDVAC. The machine was constructed by Maurice Wilkes and his team at the University of Cambridge Mathematical Laboratory in England. EDSAC was the second electronic digital stored program computer to go into regular service. EDVAC, or Electronic Discrete Variable Automatic Computer, was one of the earliest electronic computers. Unlike its predecessor, the ENIAC, it was binary rather than decimal, and it was designed to be the stored program computer. So BINAC in year 1949, or Binary Automatic Computer, was an early electronic computer designed for Northrop Aircraft Company by Eckert and Mauchly Computer Corporation, or EMCC, in 1949. Eckert and Mauchly, though they had started the design of EDVAC at the University of Pennsylvania, chose to leave and start EMCC. BINAC was their first product, the first stored program computer in the United States. The BINAC is also sometimes wrongly claimed to be the world's first commercial digital computer, even though it was very limited in scope, never fully functional, and always economically unviable. BINAC, also known as the successor of ENIAC. So we have UNIVAC in year 1951. On June 14, 1951, Remington Rand delivered its first computer, the UNIVAC-1, to the U.S. Census Bureau. It weighed 16,000 pounds, used 5,000 vacuum tubes, and could perform about 1,000 calculations per second. On November 4, 1952, the UNIVAC achieved national fame when it correctly predicted Dwight D. Eisenhower's unexpected landslide victory and in the presidential election after only a tiny percentage of the votes were in. So we also have the IBM 701 year 1952, electronic data processing machine known as the defense calculator, while in development was IBM's first commercial scientific computer and its first series production mainframe computer, which was announced to the public on April 29, 1952. Lastly, we have Fortran in year 1954 to 1957, or formula translation, was the first high-level programming language software invented by John Backus for IBM in 1954, released commercially in 1957. Fortran is still used today for programming scientific and mathematical applications. These are the inventors of ENIAC, J. Presper Eckert, and John Mauchly. They were also known as the creator of EDVAC, BINAC, and UNIVAC computers. So, inventor of EDSAC, Morris Vincent Wilkes. Inventors of IBM 701, Jerrier A. Haddad, and Nathaniel Rochester. Inventor of Fortran, John Baptist. So let's proceed to the second generation in year 1955 to 1965. The first operating system was introduced in the early 1950s. It was called GMOS and was created by General Motors for IBM's machine, the 701. Operating systems in the 1950s were called single-stream batch processing system because the data was submitted in groups. These new machines were called mainframes, and they were used by professional operators in large computer rooms. Since there was such a high price tag on these machines, only government agencies or large corporations were able to afford them. So by the late 1950s, operating systems were well improved and started supporting following usages, like it was able to perform single-stream batch processing. It could use common standardized input or output routines for device access. Third, program transitions, capabilities to reduce the overhead of starting a new job were added. Fourth, error recovery to clean up after a job terminated abnormally was added. And lastly, job control languages that allowed user to specify the job definition and resource requirements were made possible. So let's proceed to the third generation in year 1965 to 1980s. By the late 1960s, operating system designers were able to develop the system of multi-programming in which a computer program will be able to perform multiple jobs at the same time. The introduction of multi-programming was a major part in the development of operating systems because it allowed a CPU to be busy nearly 100% of the time that it was in operation. Another major development during the third generation was the phenomenal growth of mini-computers. So next, the dawn of mini-computers in year 1961. The term mini-computer developed in the 1960s to describe the smaller computers that became possible with the use of transistor and core memory technologies. Minimal instruction sets and less expensive peripherals such as the ubiquitous teletype Model 33 ASR. They usually took up one or a few 19-inch rack cabinets compared with the large mainframes that could fill a room. So next, compatible time sharing system, or CTSS, in year 1962. CTSS was one of the first time sharing operating system. It was developed at the MIT Computation Center. CTSS was first demonstrated on MIT's IBM 709 in November 1961. Service to MIT users began in the summer of 1963 and was operated until 1973. During part of this time, MIT's influential Project Mach also ran a CTSS service, but the system did not spread beyond these two sites. So next, Bureau Master Control Program, or MCP, in year 1962. MCP is the proprietary operating system of the Bureau's small, medium, and large system, including the Unisys ClearPath or MCP systems. MCP was originally written in 1961 in ESCO. In the 1970s, MCP was converted to new NEWP, which was a better structured, more robust, and more secure form of ESCO. So I listed the other operating systems in the year 1960s. So we have IBM system or 360 in year 1964. This became mainstream 1960s. Many computers got cheaper, more powerful, and really useful. 1966, mouse was invented 1967 to 1968. Multics 1964 and onward, and the Unix time sharing system 1969. So these are the supported operating system features in year 1970s. First, multi-user and multitasking was introduced. Second, dynamic address translation hardware and virtual machines came into picture. Third, modular architectures came into existence. And lastly, personal interactive systems came into existence. So these are the accomplishments after the year 1970. So we have 16 accomplishments listed. First, then in 1971, Intel announces the microprocessor. 1972, IBM comes out with VM, the virtual machine operating system. 1973, Unix 4th edition is published. 1973 also, we have Ethernet. 1974, the personal computer age begins. 1974, Gates and Allen wrote BASIC for Altair. For the Altair, 1976, Apple II. So August 12, 1981, IBM produces the IBM PC. 1983, Microsoft begins work on MS Windows. 1984, Apple Macintosh comes out. 1990, Microsoft Windows 3.0 comes out. 1991, GNU or Linux. 1992, the first Windows virus comes out. 1993, Windows NT. And 2007, iOS. Lastly, 2008, Android OS. So let's proceed to the fourth generation, the last generation in the history of operating systems. So here, the research and development works continues. We are seeing the new operating systems being developed and existing ones getting improved and modified and to enhance the overall user experience, making operating system fast and efficient like never before. Also, with the onset of new devices like wearable, which includes smartwatches, smart glasses, VR gears, and many more, the demand for unconventional operating system is also rising. So this is other definition for the fourth generation. So this is the end of my discussion. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I hope you guys understand my discussion about the operating system. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.